Good evening, I am your host, Jack Remington, of the Jack Remington Political Analyst Channel. I was on a 23-day hiatus, death in the family, the love of my life is Gemini. But I'm back now, I come back a few days early. Happy 4th of July, great day for this country. Great day to be born an American. This video is titled, Where We Are At with the Current Presidential Election of 2024, especially after every pundit in the world is regurgitating and rethrowing up the debacle of debate last Thursday. Let's get to the video. The ingredients of the political unrest today are eerily similar and almost replicated to the conditions created by, you guessed it, the Democrats of the Jimmy Carter administration from 1977 to 1981. Let me give you a quick recap of Jimmy Carter's disastrous presidency. Number one, the Iran hostage crisis, which 53 Americans were held for 444 days. Number two, interest rates climbed to a then record 21.5%. No home buyers, no second mortgages, no third mortgages, no bank lending, no loan originations, no construction, no home building, which led to, number three, unemployment rate hovering around 12%, to which the Democrats controlled the government changing of how they reported unemployment people, unemployed job seekers. So how they calculated a true unemployed worker, after 6 months they were dropped off the rolls from full-time to part-time seekers. After 12 months they were dropped completely off the rolls. Number four, the gas lines. Remember those? I sure do.
What is this? I'm in a line 2 hours in and I can't get gas? This is baloney. Carter doesn't get my vote next year. You wait to see. As soon as it gets up to $1.50 a gallon, you'll see all the gas you want. There will be no more lines.
No more gas. Tomorrow morning. Get up at 3 in the morning.
Waiting online for over an hour and a half and to be the last one to get no gas, I think it's disgusting.
You tell that goddamn governor he's going to police this goddamn gasoline situation. I will not take the blame for this thing. I will not take the crap and the harassment from these customers. Now let him police it or stop selling gas.
Look, this lady, talk to this lady, Ed.
I'm not talking to anybody. You get the governor down here, let him worry about how he's going to sell this gasoline. The dealers will not be subjected to this harassment.
We'll get gas when you'll be, this afternoon you'll be able to charge for half.
Yeah, I'll bet you there's no gas even at that price. What do you think of that?
Well,
I'll bet you there's no gas.
I heard this morning.
Well, you get the gas down here.
Commissioner of Energy from Washington, and they claim there's gas.
What about?
I mean, this is ridiculous.
I can go on disability. I got to wear 2 split braces. What does a person like myself do?
To turn you down the last. Why didn't they come out and tell us there was no gas? 3 or 4 cars. No, they did not. No man ever
8 o'clock.
told.
We were supposed to pump at 8 o'clock. It's 8:45. What are you doing in line?
Told us.
What are you doing
Never.
in line? 8:45.
What
We're
am I
only
doing?
supposed to
I'm-
pump to 8
I
o'clock.
have to be at work at 8. I came here at 6:30.
6:30. And you
back
expect to
there.
get gas at 6:30 in line? Forget it, lady.
Just shut down.
No gas.
I think that's disgusting. I
You know,
really
you could
do.
come to the end of the line.
Well,
and
we
let
did
people
send
know.
the line out. The guy out there went down there and told everybody we had no gas. Forget about it.
You should have
And
sent
everybody
someone
still,
up
they
there.
don't listen.
No, they did not. They said
We were
you had
never-
regular.
you said
and
you had regular and unleaded.
You see
That's
that sign
what
we
they
got out
told
there,
me.
6 to 8. We're only
Yeah, but
supposed to
obviously
Then why
put it
didn't
we're
in.
on the
come back
line. We
and
don't
tell
see
us?
that. If you tell,
You have a card
Nobody-
there
it's
that
Every
says
morning
no
for
gas.
6 to 8.
at this point, no one objects to waiting online, but we should be told before we spend an hour on the line that we're not going to get gas.
Well, I told him to go down there to tell you there's no gas at all, so I don't know what happened.
I have to get to work. I'm late as it is. I am very upset because I was here since 6:30. I never expected to be the last one on. Well, that's the story of my life.
I lost control of myself at the time of the closing of the pump. With some people that have been with us for so many years, it's really not fair to them. I understand their frustration. But at the same token, we're under the same amount of frustration, and sometimes the safety valve lets go and you regret it 5 seconds after you've opened your mouth. And I would hope that something would happen to resolve this situation as soon as possible.
Jimmy Carter strong-armed the oil companies to make sure that the regular gas stayed under $1 a gallon. Number five, the inflation hovering around 22%. A head of lettuce went from 19 cents to 29 cents, and from 29 cents to 49 cents, and then from 49 cents to 59 cents, all within a couple of years. Our then neighbors were retired railroad workers. The husband was on a fixed income by law of $216 per month. That's all he made. Okay, late 1970s, $216 a month. I have to repeat that because I'll never forgot that. So my father and the neighbors in our community, we held these monthly mock carnivals and games and stuff like that, and we donated the proceeds to that family. And we didn't have any permits and didn't know anything about it. But in those days, you could do that. You can't do it today. Someone would call and you'd get in a lot of trouble. Enter the ascension of Ronald Reagan. He asked that question that notably won him the debate between him and that nervous fish out of the water, Jimmy Carter. And that question was, are you better off now than 4 years ago?
Next Tuesday is Election Day. Next Tuesday, all of you will go to the polls, will stand there in the polling place and make a decision. I think when you make that decision, it might be well if you would ask yourself, are you better off than you were 4 years ago?
Reagan was ahead by almost 50 points in most polls and won by, I think it was 32 points. A complete landslide, the biggest in American history. Yet the same conditions that the Democrats created in the 1970s under Jimmy Carter have been repeated under Joe Biden in 2021. Another quick recap. Number one, inflation touched 20% in most of the months under the Biden presidency, and is currently at 9%. They've actually done a decent job working it down. But my infamous Shell gas station from 4.46 a gallon to 4.79, that was just yesterday, 33 cents in one day. So gas is going up again. Number two, gas was 7.17 at the same gas station in December of 2021. And it was $8.89 in Santa Barbara. I ran out of gas up there at one time, so I was forced to buy the gas, and I remember what I paid for it. Number three, unemployment is starting to skyrocket again. California companies announced massive layoffs next month, and here's several clips just within the last 2 days. Number four, Google has already had 3 waves of layoffs already. They're blaming it on the implementation of AI. Well, other companies, they don't need the high-tech workers and programmers anymore, so they say. Number five, the Afghanistan debacle. That should have destroyed Joe Biden and his entire administration, but it did not. The deep state rules supreme, doesn't it? Number six, the 2022 midterms is only the 4th time in American history, the last 116 years, that the incumbent presidential party retained at least one House in Congress. The Democrats barely hung on to the critical body of the Senate, the upper assembly of the Congress, and they almost won the House, despite the so-called predicted red tsunami. Well, the Supreme Court was given its marching orders the day before the midterms came out, and it was leaked that this Dobbs report thing, that these briefs about the abortion issue, which led to the overturning of Roe v. Wade, which was not supposed to be discussed at all, but they were given their marching orders, weren't they? Hey, we got to maintain that Senate. We cannot let this happened. And what was going to happen, there was a plan for this, and I remember this. I was hoping it was going to happen. Well, not much press, but I remember it. I'm going to tell it to you now. Had the Republicans won the Senate like they said they were going to win, then both Joe Biden and Cackle Harris would have been removed, and then Speaker Mike McCarthy would have been ascended to the presidency as Speaker of the House, number 3 person. And I was licking my chops. I was hoping it was going to happen, but guess what? The Republicans blew it. Those 2 Georgia runoff Senate seats, that Warnock guy was one of them, and Ossoff was the other. They won almost in a landslide in the state of Georgia, or used to be a red state. So the fix was in, like Trump says. And Justice Roberts, we have our own little force and our own investigators. We're going to find a leaker. Well, I'm still waiting on them finding that leaker. It hasn't come out yet, but it will, but just not yet. They already have the plan in place, people. I'm telling you. They already got it. It's some pink-haired spike girl with a metal in her nose and her mouth. And some broad in Ohio or Indiana, some red state. It'll be a red state, and or Kansas probably. Some over 300-pound fat slob. And I leaked it. And they're going to make her a hero. You watch my words. Save this video. Number 7, the border crisis, an all-time crisis ever. Joe Biden has estimated 18 million illegal aliens or more. I mean, this is a low number I'm giving you. They are now here, and they're getting bussed and or flown all over the country. And the pilot union's bosses were told to tell their pilots to shut the fudge up about them getting. They were unvaccinated. They were also no documentation. They would get on the plane and they said, "Where are we taking them? You just shut up and you just fly them to where we're telling you." Because Joe Biden personally vowed to fire them himself. And of course, the mainstream media don't want to report that. They're sweeping it under the rug. Number 8, the Ukraine war. China threatening Taiwan. Venezuela threatening two countries, French Guiana and Guyana. The Niger civil war in Africa. The Haiti civil war. And other hot spots that are perking up. And don't forget the October 7th debacle where the barbarians jumped the Israeli border and killed a bunch of people and still have the hostages. Some are American citizens. So I'll stop here for that for now and re-enter Donald Trump, president number 45, the president Joe Biden beat in this contested election in 2020. Now, you would think that Donald Trump's 1.2 inflation rate is average for 4 years, the lowest unemployment rate for blacks, Hispanics, women ever, almost full labor participation rate before COVID-19, no new wars, brought almost all the troops home, which both sides said they approved of at the time. Do you think that, and now he just destroyed Joe Biden and he held back. He could have finished Joe Biden off forever, and I'll get to that in tomorrow's video. Trump should be ahead by 30 points, a la Ronald Reagan. But sad to say, I still think Trump is going to lose in November. The conditions are the same, but the Democrats have done their work the last 40 years. It is inconceivable that this medical cadaver, Joe Biden, could still beat the sharper and better Trump. But let's take a look at what I see. The Democrats have plotted and planned real well, and they learned their lessons from 1977. And yes, they did create a different country than what we had in 1977. In 1977, we did not have the mainstream media covering for the incompetent Jimmy Carter. We did not have the cancel culture. We did not have censorship. Even Richard Nixon won his Supreme Court case to have him censored during his Watergate troubles. And just last week, that same very case that Richard Nixon won with, the Supreme Court of the United States ruled on the presidential immunity case. Not to protect Donald Trump like the media is saying, but protect all presidents for official acts. And how they worded that was so clever. People think they saved Donald Trump. No, they screwed Donald Trump, and I'll get to that in tomorrow's video. And the Democrats are having fits because they can't think from A to B. You know, they can think they can think this way from A to B to C this linear, but they can't go forward. They got blinders on and they just can't see their own folly. Their own evilness impairs their vision. And in 1977, the Democrats were not controlled by the Marxist social wing of that party that we have today. And the recent Democrats have been whining nonstop about trying to pack the Supreme Court because conservative justices tend to uphold the rule of law. Democrats under Joe Biden just recently sent the bill up through the House to strip Donald Trump of his Secret Service protection because he's now a convicted felon. So that's another ingredient why they're going after their political opponent. Donald Trump's a convicted felon? Well, that's only because the Democrats have broken the entire tradition of this country. We've never had a president indicted before for anything. Okay, so now they've opened up that Pandora box of worms, and they're willing to do anything to win. So now it's going to be our turn, and we're going to see how Hillary and Obama and company, Anthony Blinken and Lloyd Austin, who went AWOL, didn't tell anybody for 3 weeks. We'll see how that turns out. I can't wait. And what did Donald Trump get convicted of? He somehow sent some kind of nuisance suit payoff just to get Stormy Daniels to shut the fudge up. And he made that payment, I think it was late 2015, after he announced his candidacy for presidency. And Stormy Daniels, it's something she has denied twice. 2 separate affidavits. And the New York Post published them, and she lost her countersuit when Donald Trump sued her. And she says she's not going to pay him, by the way. I can't believe she admitted that in court. That's how dumb she is. And her first story, and the story I still believe to be close to the truth, is that she was mad at Donald Trump because he stood her up twice, not having sex with her. And that's where she says that she actually got lawyers and drafted up the affidavits that Donald Trump, he's all talking no action. He didn't want to show up. He got busy or whatever. And the first one was in 2002, that didn't happen. And then in 2004, again, it didn't happen. Remember, she signed 2 affidavits saying that this is what happened.
She is an actor and director who either did or did not receive $130,000 to be or not be.
Only one story can be true, folks, and banged the hell out of her, or they didn't meet and he just forgot about it and he would just let her on, or who knows what. Or he just said, yeah, if I'm in town, I'll call you. But he was never in town, he didn't call her, and she got mad. She tried to shake him down. She tried to shake him. He wasn't in politics back then. But the fact that he became president in 2016 and she's still trying to shake him down, she should be the one facing jail time, not Donald Trump. But they hate Donald Trump, and I'll get to that later. But only one story can be true, folks. Either they did or they didn't. If they did, if Donald Trump didn't knock the bottom out of her, okay, like she says he did, that was back in 2004. Who cares? He was not in office like Bill Clinton was. See, it's a different standard. If the Democrats didn't have double standards, they would have no standards at all. And by the way, speaking of crimes, comparing crimes, Well, Joe Biden did the same thing that they're accusing Donald Trump of, taking classified documents out of the White House and out of the archives, National Archives. Well, guess what? When Joe Biden did it, he didn't have permission. He was a senator from Delaware and the vice president under Obama. Neither one of those can take documents. Only the president of the United States can. And guess what? Donald Trump's going to get convicted of that, and Joe Biden was let off the hook because Merrick Garner's little boy, Jack Ma, the special prosecutor, well, Biden's a feeble old man, and he can't be held responsible. He doesn't remember. Then why is he still running the country? You're not going to prosecute him, but you're going to prosecute because someone's not in office? Really? Someone that had permission to take the documents? And by the way, the National Archives, all the workers are Obama appointees and hires, by the way. So you can read the writing on the wall how that's going to go and how it has gone. And they've also, the chief of this, it's a woman, I don't remember her name, but she was caught lying. And the mainstream media is just, well, she's having a bad day. That's their get out of jail card for these people. But this feeble old man, Joe Biden, well, it came out last week during that debate. And just remember this, folks. This guy's got his finger on the nuclear codes. Think about that. Think about that, American sheeple. That's exactly what you are. America's in real trouble. The indoctrination is near complete. The mainstream media is the extension of the Democrat Marxist Party, and they want Trump gone. Even the GOP wants Trump gone. Why? Because Donald Trump vetoed 10 big spending bills in his 4 years in office. The military-industrial complex is the biggest enemy of all, as they need to tax and spend warmongering Democrats to keep making money. Almost all of the House of Representative members and senators have personal stock portfolios heavily weighted with defense stocks, like trader Nikki Haley, Boeing, McDonnell Douglas, you name them. Their personal portfolios are heavily weighted with defense stocks, so they need the military-industrial complex, don't they? Google how much Nikki Haley got paid by Boeing. Google how much Nancy Pelosi has made and in her husband's name, Paul Pelosi's stock market accounts. Google how much former California Senator Dianne Feinstein was worth when she passed. Now, I have a source that says she was over $5 billion worth of net assets. How can you make over $5 billion when she started at $110,000 30 years ago to the recent $180,000 a year is a real head scratcher. How did Liz Cheney get $55 million in her 3 terms as House rep in the state of Wyoming, a state she never visited ever until the seat came open as her daddy, Dick Cheney, Dead-eyed Dick Cheney lived there, and she got him to give that questionable fishing license as proof of her residency, and they ran it through. And Hillary Clinton and that Georgia grifter, Stacey Abrams, that racist Stacey Abrams, said for 4 years in a row, and they're still talking about it, how their elections were stolen from them. Not a word was said to them. Okay, but when Donald Trump said 2020 was stolen from him, he is labeled an election denier and given hell for that, 24/7. Finally, watching the exit polling from that debacle of debate, where most interviewees claim that Joe Biden won that debate. You can't make this up, and I'm going to play a couple. Well, you know what? I'll give you the link, and you watch the guy's video yourself. He interviewed over 20-some African Americans from the exit polling from Georgia when the debate was over, and they all said that Joe Biden won that debate. I mean, which debate were they watching? But this reminded me of Mike Tyson versus Santa Claus, and the Trump-Tyson guy, Beast, he took it real easy on Sleepy Crooked Joe. He could have really hurt him, but he didn't. I was wondering what's going on here, but I figured it out, and that'll be in tomorrow's video. This reminds me of pro sports. You're going to root for your team even though you know you're going to lose anyway. That's your home team. Okay, this is why the country can and will never be united, because both sides want to win so badly no matter what. In baseball, stealing the catcher signals from the Astros World Series. Remember that? That was just a few years ago. The fixing of the 1919 World Series between the Chicago White Sox and I believe it was the Black Sox, where the kids, gloves in their hands, tracked down shoeless Joe Jackson at the courthouse. And the kid, quote, "Say it ain't so, Joe." So Joe Jackson stayed quiet, stayed silent, just hung his head down and looking in silence and shame. Their hero fell from grace, in disgrace. The NFL coaches taping other teams' practices, remember that? I'm a retired NFL handicapper. I remember all that. And I remember which teams did it, and I remember which ones didn't. And I remember who the rat fink was that blew the whistle and everything, and he was doing it too. Eric Mangini, that piece of crap. NBA basketball referees were, quote, shaving point scandal in both in the NBA and the Boston College, the NCAA men's tournament, that landed at least one referee in prison for the NBA and the NCAA. I could go on with these anecdotes, but I don't think that Trump's victory in that one debate is going to save America. The Democrats and their partners in the hollowing out of America's remaining resources, the GOPers, will plot and plan some more to get the possible replacement to get Joe Biden out of there. So the mask has come off. And now all of a sudden people recognize, and they're asking the question, oh, well, who's been running the country the last 3.5 years? Well, duh. You got people like me been warning you and telling you, you just don't want to listen. You hate Trump so bad that you overlook all the evidence around you. Trump needs Biden to stay in the race. And even if Biden does stay in the race, I still think Trump's going to lose in November, despite the 1977 conditions matching the 2021 conditions exactly. Stay tuned for the next video. Thank you. Leave the comments below. I'm back, and I'm back with a vengeance. And I'm probably going to get kicked off YouTube. I don't care. Stay tuned for tomorrow's video if I'm still here. Thank you. Have a good day.